G'day everyone, hope you're having a good day and welcome back to another High Road podcast installment. I'm your host Remington Liam Blundell. I am here with my father Noel C. Blundell. How are you, Dad?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm going fantastic today, actually.
That's great. That's really, really good. And it's always good to see that everyone's up and at 'em and positive for the day.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We have a pretty good episode today, don't we? A very important one, I could say.
Yes, it is. It's very important what we're going to unpack today for all our listeners. Today we've decided to have a discussion around our mission statement, A.M.E.N Motivational Empowerment Network mission statement, to try and convey to people exactly what we are going to do and what services we're going to provide.
Fantastic.
I'll read you a quick list. There's 4 items here that we feel unpack our service to you. They begin with, firstly, to give men an opportunity to live a better, fulfilling life through information and training that empowers. Secondly, to give men an opportunity to become better, meaningful parents and fathers through information and training which provides pathways to building meaningful relationships with their children. Thirdly, to give men an opportunity to become better parents and husbands and take a leadership role in their families, communities, and workplace through information and training which provides sustainable strategies that support sound leadership attributes. Fourth and final, to give women an opportunity to better understand their men and husbands and how to support and complement the building of a solid foundation for their families, communities, and workplace through information and training which provides sustainable strategies that support personal inner growth. There are 4 fundamental values of what our service is about. We're going to go through those 4 now and have a bit of a chat about them so we can give you an understanding.
Yeah, it's really good. You've kind of incorporated everyone.
Well, that's what
everyone can benefit from what we're doing, really.
Yes, correct. And that's what families are about.
Yes.
Families are about everyone in the family and everyone in the community, because the community is made up of families.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yep.
So let's open up the first one. To give men an opportunity to live a better, fulfilling life through information and training that empowers. What does it say to you, mate?
Well, I'm going to be honest, I zoned out for 1 second there. But can you read it again?
To give men an opportunity to live a better, fulfilling life through information and training that empowers.
What does it say to me? Oh, well, it speaks to me pretty strongly at the end of the day, because some men don't know what it's like to, or don't know what fulfillment is, really.
Correct.
And I think step 1 would be education. And I did like that as like a good starter, because it's just kind of like the introduction into the impact afterwards, your fulfillment of yourself and then the community and families later on during the mission statement. So it was a good opener.
Yes, that's a very good point. To me, I look at it as, I can't help but feel that young men today are living in a state of confusion. It's not really clear what their role is. So therefore, if they can't determine what their role is and how they fit into society and how that looks and how that operates, I think there's a certain degree of disempowerment associated to that. And if you're in that position where you are struggling to find your path through life and where you fit into this society, I think you would struggle to find meaning, purpose, and identity.
Yes.
And I think young men, not only young men, mature age men as well, are struggling with that today, because the parameters and expectations of us as a society have shifted so much around masculinity. I feel that it's time to open that up and start speaking to people and training people and having a serious look at how to fundamentally empower men to step back into their strength and become significant leaders and members of their community, and also fathers.
Yes. Wow, very well put.
Well, that's what that's why I'm thinking of the first part of the mission statement. Certainly. The second part, to give men an opportunity to become better, meaningful parents and fathers through information and training, which provides pathways to build meaningful relationships with their children.
Yeah, that one's. Would you think of that as not just beneficial to communities and families, but also future generations? Parenthood.
Agreed, because all the skills of parenting are passed down from generation to generation, both good and bad. So I think we're seeing at the moment there a bit of a breakdown in the communications and values and attitudes that are being passed from generation to generation. I'm not saying it's all bad, and I'm not saying that it's being done poorly or anything along those lines. I just feel it could be done a little bit more holistically, with a bit more passion and a bit more emotion and a bit more in depth.
Yeah, I think passion and in depth is a huge consideration, because then fathers will be more, I guess, committed to staying around their household and their children, I suppose, because a lot of fatherless homes out there.
There is a lot of fatherless homes out there.
And I guess if we pay a bit of attention to that, maybe we could keep the family dynamic and also raise better children.
Correct.
Because the father figure is so important in the family.
I think so. Absolutely. 100%.
Like, it doesn't work. It doesn't matter if there's father or mother, either one that's absent in the family is hugely detrimental on the child.
It certainly is, because they need that dynamic, that mother and father dynamic, because they need the feminine and the masculine energy in their lives to be able to work out their position in society, in the family, in the pecking order. It's about finding where you are. Once you find where you are, you can then find your identity. Once you can find your identity, you can then find and start to look for your purpose. Once you find your purpose and identity, then you fit that purpose and identity into the community, and then you start to lead.
And then by extension, you can find your person to also have a family and raise children and help them, and then so on. The pattern continues.
Very good point. Yes. Then if you understand your identity and your purpose, that's right. Your partner will then find you.
Yes.
And you will find them.
Yeah, whatever you're seeking is out there seeking you.
Correct. That's correct. Whatever you're looking for is looking for you. And have faith in that, although it never operates in your time frame.
Never. And it'll never be when you're ready.
No, it'll be when you most need it.
Yes.
Thirdly, to give men an opportunity to become better partners and husbands and take a leadership role in their families, communities, and workplace through information and training which provides sustainable strategies that support sound leadership attributes. I think we've spoken about that a little bit already.
That one's very good too, though.
I think so as well. In this day and age, there's so many opinions out there that I think are in conflict. I think a lot of fathers today are in conflict from what they had seen and taught from their grandfathers to their fathers, and for those young men becoming fathers now, and what society is dictating to them what they should and shouldn't do. I think there's a conflict of values there. And I think that pathway has become a little bit murky for young fathers. And of course, for the fathers of those young fathers, I think people withholding their thoughts and truths don't want to step on toes of the young fathers coming through to avoid conflict.
Yeah.
Conflict between what the father's father has been taught and what society is dictating around child rearing and fatherhood.
wouldn't that be the father of the young father? Wouldn't they have some responsibility to take up on avoiding conflict in terms of, my son who's now a young father? I wouldn't advise to do that. I'm not just saying that's what the older father would say.
Yep.
Would you think that they would be partly responsible for the actions of their son/young father?
Responsible? No. Their role is to guide and mentor. And for the purposes of this discussion, we'll talk. The young father we'll refer to as the father of the infant child.
Yep.
The father's father we will refer to as the grandfather.
Yep.
The grandfather plays a very significant role in the rearing of grandchildren, because not only do they have a mentorship and advisory role with the father, they also have one with the grandchild. So it's like a dual role. But I think the communication between the grandfather and the fathers nowadays is
at conflict.
Yes, in some cases in conflict. I think in some cases, everyone's just being quiet for the sake of being quiet because men are being educated not to say anything about anything. Just be quiet, keep the peace, right? Where the grandfather knows that he really knows that something's not quite right. And as a grandparent, you would have to let some of those things go to give your son the opportunity to rear his child the way he sees fit. But I think we need to open up communications around how that's done between the grandfather and the father with the raising of the child.
Yeah, so by extension, would that conflict of values that the grandfather won't mention could come down to a raising of the son in childhood if they don't necessarily agree on everything? Or do you think times have just changed that it's created an additional conflict of values that were previously unseen between the grandfather and the father?
Yes, of course I do feel that.
Yeah.
There is. And I tend to wonder how much the grandfather feels they have the rights to be able to speak about that with their son and who's now a father.
Yeah, because it's tough. It's really tough. Being a father, you have your grandfather. Yeah, well, you have the grandfather's values.
Yep.
The grandmother's values.
Yes.
Your values. Yes. Your partner's values, and your partner's family's values, all rubbing up against each other to raise your child.
Correct.
And that's very tough to navigate.
Yes, it is. It's a very complex dynamic right across the board. And the old saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. So that comes into its own. It does.
Yeah, I know, because the other half of my family, I would just say that we would rarely agree on the same value. So it's stuff that I'm pretty happy to just swipe in a way because I think a bit differently and I am a bit different to them. But it just goes to show that every part of your previous family history has played a role into your values, and that comes into consideration, and as well as a whole new person, your partner, with their own huge bubble of family values. Correct. From previous families. Yes. It is a very difficult thing to navigate, I can only imagine.
Yes, yes, it is. It is. And, of course, the father of the new child, the infant child, is trying to forge their way in a leadership capacity with their family and their workplace and their community. And I think the grandparents' role is significant, very, very significant in that whole equation.
Yeah, my grandfather's huge influence on my childhood. I spent a lot of time.
Yes, with him. Yes, and you pick up a lot of values from them.
Yes,
and they, they have a major role.
Yeah, like cappuccinos,
baby chinos,
baby chinos,
and cake.
Yeah,
that's right. And I think that there's some conflictual issues there with the information that's coming out of society of how to parent as well.
So we want to help communication,
yes,
amongst families,
yes,
to do with our mission statement.
Yeah, correct.
Yep.
And how men are going to become better partners, better fathers, because you can't have one without the other. And I hesitate to use the word partner, but I think it hits the point of what we're trying to make. Because if you're not a husband, I suppose you're a partner, aren't you?
Yep.
What would you call yourself? What's the terminology if you're not married and you're living with your partner? What are you?
I think
Spouse?
Yes, spouse.
What would you be as opposed to a partner? I hesitate to use partner a little bit because it's an intimate relationship where you're growing together with your wife and or your husband. Oh, sorry. There you go. I use the terminology again. With your partner. There you go. Is there a better word? Partner.
Spouse is a husband or wife, so it's not spouse.
Right.
It's just partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, companion.
Well, this is where it gets de facto.
Yeah.
This is where it gets a bit sticky. Partner to me has a business,
like
implies business.
Yeah, underlying business type of connotation.
We're partners, so we're going to split everything, things along those lines. It's a bit, I think intimate relationships are a little bit more than a business arrangement, although I don't know. Yep. There may be some relationships out there that function quite fine as a business arrangement.
What about a good terminology? A consenting participant.
A consenting participant. Don't say that 3 times fast. Get you right in strife. But anyway, that's what we wish to talk about. And we, as part of our philosophy, we would like to assist and train young men to become better parents, because realistically, at the end of the day, and this is the voice of experience here, the relationship with your children can be and will be one of the most richest, rewarding relationships you will have. Period. And it has the ability to provide the foundation for a man to become the best possible version you can be. I can't say much more about that.
Yeah.
And I'm very passionate about that topic. So that's going to be one of our focuses. We are going to speak to young men about moving forward and their role around families. Finally, as part of the mission statement's final entry, is to give women an opportunity to better understand their men and husbands and how to support and complement the building of a solid foundation for their families, communities, and workplace through information and training which provides sustainable strategies that support personal inner growth. Again, I think if there's one side of a partnership that is suffering with confusion because of all the mixed messages that come from everywhere, there must be the other side. Everything has a yin and yang. Everything has a left and right and up and down. That's so, if we have men in families struggling with confusion from the messages from society, confusion from messages from peers, messages coming from everywhere around ethical decision-making processes around rearing their children, I'm thinking, no, I've got a pretty good idea. Women are suffering the same fate. So we want to try and enhance that connection between men and women around partnership, around families, around relationships, and how that relationship is meant to complement each other, not be a competition. I think we're seeing a situation where there's like a pseudo competition between men and women at the moment. Who can be the best?
There is a bit of tension between the sexes nowadays. Definitely.
Thank you. Would you like to expand on that a little bit?
I don't really know a lot about it, but there's just been a lot of tension between what's considered abnormal what's considered normal behavior and on the line of assault. And there is a lot of competition between men and women in almost everything. Like, for example, women entering the workforce, a lot of more competition.
Yep.
Which is great.
Yes.
Healthy competition. And I think that it may have added to the confusion of what role men usually play in society. And I don't really know enough about it. That's just a feeling I kind of have, is you see a lot less people getting into relationships nowadays. You see a lot less people staying married nowadays. You see a lot more fatherless homes and single mothers, which is just all really terrible things. You know, some situations are different. You know, some situations ends the way they are because that outcome's better than the previous one.
Yes.
Not all marriages work.
Yes.
And
yes.
Fair
enough.
Not all parents stick together for reasons, which is all fair enough.
Yes.
It is very common and case-by-case basis, but there is a lot of tension, and there's probably a whole lot more to say on it. I just can't really... I'll have to think about it for a good few days in a deeper way. But I do think on a societal level, the competition between men and women is very, very present.
Yes.
Relationship statuses are very present in terms of men and women being in relationships. I know that women are having less children than they previously were. That's just all goes to show for our population rate, and, you know, especially in Japan, everywhere in the world, except for America, I think.
Yeah, Western world. Western world, the population's relatively in decline. Women aren't having children.
And then there's some men in, I think it was Korea or China, under 30 that still haven't had any sort of intimacy with women.
30% of Japanese young people, both men and women, still virgins at 30. Yeah,
so obviously there's some tension there.
Well, yes, there's some sort of breakdown. But I think, Remy, you're at your age and where you are at this particular point, I think your opinion on that subject is very relevant because you are actually living that experience now.
Yeah, I'm 23.
Yes. And
I see it more than ever. And I don't know really what it is. I don't know what caused it. I have an idea that I'm not willing to speak about. But I have
at this moment.
At this moment, yeah, I'll have to articulate it in a very diplomatic way.
Correct, with data.
With data, yes. And yeah, that's what I see as a 23-year-old. There's a lot less people getting into relationships. That has been a huge thing. And I saw like a statistic the other day that was if you didn't have a long-term relationship by the time you were 22, there's like an 80% chance of you being single by the time you're 40, something like that. If that has any merit to it, which I have no idea why, I'd have to have a real good look at that report. Then that's something really, really concerning, if you ask me.
Well, yeah, it is.
Because not everyone gets into a relationship by the time they're 22. My first one wasn't until I was 21.
Yep.
2021. Yeah, that was my first one, 2021. And I know people that have been, 26, 30, 32, very, very, much older than what I was in my first one.
Yep.
So I feel like it's really important in our mission statement is to reunite that.
I think so.
Settle some of that tension.
I think so as well.
Open lines of communication, identify parameters, and reinstill some encouragement for people to get into relationships.
Yes.
Explore the other species, I suppose.
Yes.
Because it was the most life-changing experience I ever had. So
It is the most life-changing experience you will ever have.
Yeah, and I don't think, after 65, if you don't have children or a partner, life gets pretty boring, I can only imagine.
Yes.
All your friends have partners and families and you may be retired. So it's like, I think that, it's very important to reinstill it.
There's very interesting stats getting around in relation to people who don't have children. Not that if that's your choice, hats off to you.
Yeah, that's your choice. That's fair enough.
Correct.
Just for me personally, I want a family.
Yes. There is a few stats that we'll talk about in other episodes, not today, around childless families and mature age. And I'm talking late 40s, early 50s, and that's not really mature age nowadays. That's, the 50 is the new 40 type scenario we're seeing at the moment.
Yeah.
But yes, it's about bringing that union back to between men and women, the masculine, the feminine, and growing that strength, growing that big, beautiful union, which is almost in the face of societal issues is almost indestructible.
Yeah, and I also think another thing that's contributing to the tension is the promiscuous behaviours of both sexes. That's definitely something to consider.
Well, again, and I'd like to talk about that in the future as well, in depth. But yes, that's a bit of an issue as well. So that sums up our mission statement and what we are about at A.M.E.N Motivational Empowerment Network. The acronym is A.M.E.N. That's what essentially is the High Road podcast is going to be about as well. Strategies and information around building on those mission statements and empowering men and women to surge forward and work through societal problems that pop up from time to time. Because every problem that has popped up, or every problem you face, has been faced before by somebody else many, many, many times, and that problem has been worked through, it has been discussed, it has been dissected, and it has been resolved.
Yes.
We've
gone through this period before in some way, shape or form.
Correct, we have, and the answers are out there. What you have to do is look for them, and that's what we are going to provide. So that just about sums up today's episode. So we certainly hope that you got a few takeaways out of that. That fundamentally underpins our philosophy. And, stick with us. Come along for the ride. We can assure you it's not going to be boring.
It'll be very exciting and intriguing.
In fact,
controversial.
Correct.
So that's what we're here to do.
I'd like to give a guarantee here. We guarantee here at A.M.E.N that you will walk away a better person, more fulfilled, with a bag load of strategies of how to have a fulfilling life. We'll guarantee it. Do you want to guarantee that?
Yeah, I'll guarantee that too.
As well. That's our mission. And if you don't, come and have a chat to us, because we're quite happy to refund anything we've taken from you, or anything you've purchased from us, and see you on your way happily. But we guarantee you will take away a big bag of strategies with you.
Yep.
All right.
Fantastic.
Is there anything else you'd like to finish up with?
No, that's pretty much it. I'm looking forward to where this takes us.
Oh, don't you worry. Life is very exciting, mate, and it's only going to get more exciting from here on in.
And we'd love to hear your feedback on our Facebook page or website.
Absolutely. Get onto A.M.E.N Motivational Empowerment Network on Facebook. Send us a hi. I'll give us some feedback. Or on Facebook with Noel C. Blundell. Or get onto our website of A.M.E.N Motivational Empowerment Network.com. Leave some feedback. We'd love to know what you think. All right, that's it for us today. I'll see you soon, mate. You look after yourself.
You too. Take care, everyone.
Yeah, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.